Elite coworker humiliated a simple woman at work. Then the truth shocked everyone. The glass bottle shattered against the tile floor, and for a moment the entire office froze. It wasn't the kind of sound anyone expected in the middle of a quiet Tuesday morning. The fizzing of soda spread like a hiss across the room, seeping into the expensive carpet, staining the floor, and splashing onto the blouse of the woman standing at the center of it all. Her hands trembled as she tried to brush the sticky liquid off, her cheeks turning crimson, her eyes heavy with humiliation. The hum of printers, the clicking of keyboards, even the chatter of phones, all of it went silent. Her name was Maya. She wasn't glamorous. She wasn't loud. She wasn't the kind of woman who commanded attention just by walking into a room. In fact, that was probably why she had slipped under the radar for so long. Her hair was neatly tied back, her cardigan a little faded, her shoes worn but polished. She carried herself with quiet dignity, never raising her voice, never trying to compete with the flashier personalities around her. Some called her sweet, others too simple. But no one ever bothered to look closer. No one tried to see who she really was. Standing across from her, smirking as though he had just performed some great joke, was Adrian. Adrian was everything Maya was not. Sharp suit, hair slicked with gel, shoes shining like glass. He was the type who filled every room he entered. He had the swagger of someone who believed the world belonged to him, the confidence of someone who thought results excused cruelty. He was a rising star in the company, a name whispered in management meetings as the one to watch. But his charisma came with a sharp edge, and when he was bored or irritated, he cut down anyone who couldn't fight back. And that morning, Maya had been his target. Really? Adrian laughed, shaking his head as though this whole display amused him. You can't even walk straight without spilling files everywhere, and now look at you. A mess. Coworkers stared wide-eyed, but no one moved. A junior assistant shifted nervously and whispered, "Adrian, come on, that's too much." But Adrian waved him off, rolling his eyes. "She doesn't even belong here," he said loudly enough for the whole floor to hear. "This is a corporate office, not some charity. Maybe she should stick to filing papers in the basement." Maya didn't argue. She didn't snap back. She didn't demand an apology. She simply whispered, "Excuse me," as though she had done something wrong, and walked toward the bathroom. Her blouse clung to her skin, sticky and cold, but her steps were steady. She pressed paper towels against the stains and looked at her reflection. There was pain in her eyes, yes, but there was also something else. A quiet strength, a calmness. That came from a woman who knew something others did not. She whispered to her reflection, "People reveal who they are when they think no one's watching." Then she fixed her hair, straightened her cardigan, and walked back to her desk as though nothing had happened. But the office hadn't forgotten. Whispers spread. People exchanged glances, some filled with guilt for not speaking up, others with discomfort at Adrian's cruelty. A few admired Maya for not making a scene, but most returned to their screens, telling themselves it wasn't their business. After all, Adrian was powerful, favored, untouchable, or so they thought. The next morning, something unusual happened. Mr. Grayson, the founder of the company, arrived. He was a man who rarely set foot in the main office. His presence was reserved for boardrooms, investor meetings, and grand events. Employees whispered as he walked through the building, his sharp eyes scanning everything with quiet authority. He carried the air of someone who had built something from nothing and demanded respect not through fear, but through the sheer force of his journey, and beside him was Maya. But she wasn't just the quiet woman people thought they knew. She wasn't just the one who faded into the background. She walked with calm assurance, her posture straight, her expression soft but unshaken. The same cardigan, the same modest clothes, but now in the founder's company, she seemed transformed. Adrian, lounging at his desk with his usual swagger, straightened when he saw them. Confusion flickered in his eyes. What was she doing with him? The room fell silent when Mr. Grayson stopped in the center of the office. He placed a hand on Maya's shoulder and said, Everyone, I want you to meet someone very important to me. My wife, Maya. The words dropped like thunder. Gasps filled the air. Mouths fell open. A few employees covered their faces in disbelief. And Adrian's smirk disappeared. His face drained of color. His confidence vanished in an instant. Mr. Grayson's gaze moved slowly across the office, sharp and deliberate. Yesterday, something happened here that I cannot ignore. Someone chose to humiliate Maya. Someone decided that arrogance and cruelty were more powerful than kindness and respect. Someone revealed their true character, not knowing who they were dealing with. And let me be clear, what happened yesterday is unacceptable. Not just because Maya is my wife, but because no one deserves to be treated that way. The silence was heavy. People shifted uncomfortably in their chairs, avoiding eye contact. Adrian sat frozen, every muscle in his body tense. What matters here, Mr. Grayson continued, his voice firm, is not the suit you wear, the car you drive, or how loudly you speak. What matters is respect. What matters is humility. And what matters is how you treat people when you think they can do nothing for you. He paused, letting the words sink in. I built this company on hard work and respect. If arrogance is what drives you, you have no place here. Adrian finally spoke, his voice shaky. Sir, I didn't know. Mr. Grayson's eyes cut. I threw him. Exactly. You didn't know, and that's the point. You judged someone based on what you thought you saw, not who they truly were. And in doing so, you revealed everything about yourself. No defense remained. Adrian lowered his gaze, his hands trembling slightly as realization sank in. The fallout was swift. Adrian was stripped of his position, reassigned, and eventually dismissed from the company. His name, once admired, became a cautionary tale whispered, in hushed tones, don't end up like Adrian. But the story didn't end with his downfall. Something changed in the office that day. Employees who once dismissed Maya began to notice her. They saw her kindness, her patience, her quiet wisdom. They realized how often they had overlooked her simply because she didn't demand attention. Now, with her identity revealed, they saw her in a new light, not just as the founder's wife, but as someone whose quiet strength had always been there. Maya never gloated. She never used her position to belittle anyone. She continued moving through the office with the same humility as before, but people listened when she spoke. They smiled at her in the hallways. They treated her with the respect she had always deserved. In time, the company's culture shifted. Workshops on respect and empathy were introduced, not as corporate formalities, but as genuine lessons. Employees began looking out for one another, standing up against small cruelties before they could grow into larger ones. The true lesson wasn't about Maya's hidden identity. It wasn't about Adrian's downfall. It was about the reminder that kindness is not weakness, that the people we underestimate often hold more strength, more wisdom, and more power than we can imagine. As for Maya, she often reminded her husband and the employees of one simple truth: arrogance crumbles, but dignity lasts forever. And those who had once looked away when Adrian humiliated her found themselves standing taller now, ready to defend not just Maya, but anyone treated unfairly, because they had seen, with their own eyes, what happens when respect is forgotten, and when dignity rises in its place. In the end, the arrogant coworker's pride collapsed under the weight of truth, and the quiet woman he humiliated stood taller than ever, not because she revealed herself as the founder's wife, but because her dignity never wavered. The lesson was clear. Respect every soul, for you never know who they truly are or the battles they carry. Arrogance fades, but kindness and humility leave a mark that lasts forever.